Superman. Bam, 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 bam. Hello? This is your great grandmother. Is anyone home? You know, I don't know how to use these things, but what is that noise going on forever and ever? If you ain't gonna answer your phone, then you can go screw yourself!
It's the Dukey Radio Show. Hello and welcome to the 2017 Dukey Awards, where myself and my partners in crime, Sylvia Silversmith,
hello everyone,
and Marsha MacDonald,
yeah, what up,
give loads of love and indeed warm glows to those performers who impressed us at the 2017 Edinburgh Fringe.
Ain't it great?
It's quite fab.
That's what they win. They win our approval.
Indeed.
That's what you win.
And let's face it, warm glows are difficult to achieve and often require some kind of a payment.
Yeah, that's true.
My neighbour told me about how he enjoys happy endings, for instance. He has a hot tub.
Yeah, why didn't that surprise me?
Well, indeed.
He told you about that?
Yes.
Wow.
He's quite an open character.
Yeah, I guess he is.
And talking of characters, we saw many an amazing performer and indeed audience member while doing our thing north of the border at the Fringe. And we're celebrating the amazing performers who had an impact on us, and indeed some audience members. All will be revealed.
It's amazing. I mean, there's just a great lineup of awards we've got here, Dukey. And are you going to kick it off?
Absolutely.
Oh, fabulous.
The Dukey Award for Best Godzilla Outfit at Edinburgh Fringe goes out to... That's the way I like it. Bryony Redman and her show Theory of Positivity.
Didn't you love her?
She was absolutely fabulous.
She was very fabulous.
A great all-round entertainer, oozes likability, and stiff competition this year. She won it by a reptilian hand.
She had that best Godzilla outfit because she took what was effectively, I guess, a child's like rain. What do you call it? Like a poncho? I would call it. Me and Marsha would call it a poncho, but I think English people would call it a mac.
Yes.
And she took like this green plastic poncho and put feet on it, like green feet, and googly eyes.
And with that combination and her own delivery, it became the best Godzilla outfit of the Fringe.
Congratulations, Bryony Redman, for Best Godzilla Outfit. And Dukey, I just personally feel that there is no object in this world that cannot be improved by pasting some googly eyes on it. Do you not feel?
I think there are some limitations.
Okay, maybe a few limitations.
But, for the most part, googly eyes.
Googly eyes.
They do wonders.
I think she was great because she managed to do a one-woman sketch show, which included a one-woman martial arts fight. Remember that?
I remember doing sound effects for it.
Yes, she had us doing sound effects, and it was a one-woman martial arts fight, and it was amazing.
A lot of ooh, ah, and a few people were doing the old school Batman pow, kaplunk.
It was fantastic. And so Bryony Redman, I think if you haven't discovered her yet, because we hadn't discovered her yet, and we did discover her, she was amazing. And congratulations, Bryony, for Best Godzilla Outfit at the Fringe. So, Dukey Radio Show listeners, the second award goes to the usher most shocked that there were actually people in the queue. That's the way I like it. Bless her heart.
Yes.
You know, I just think, personally, I've never done that for a job, but, if you're an usher and, like every day, for every show, they have to, like, keep the line in order.
Indeed.
And then before they open the doors, and then, tear people's tickets. That young woman who was doing that for that one show, she was so befuddled that there were people in line.
Taken aback.
She was thoroughly shocked.
Jaw hitting the floor.
Yeah, like, to the point where the people in front of us actually said to her, why are you so shocked that there's people here? And by that time, there was only like 5 people in line. And she was still shocked that there were 5 whole people.
She nearly asked, are you sure you're here for the right show?
She nearly asked, and then bless her, because she obviously remembered her usher training from Usher 101. Like, don't be horrified and shocked that there's actually people for the show. So she should also win the award for the world's most backpedaling at the Fringe, which was, I didn't mean that. The numbers have been good.
The numbers have been absolutely fine.
And I think she just kind of let that sentence kind of trail off.
And then she disappeared, and we didn't see her until about 20 seconds before showtime.
Yeah.
And the audience numbers increased by 1, which meant I think it was a grand total of 6.
Yeah.
In a room that, had a capacity of about 20.
Yes. I think she probably went off to, like, polish up her resume. Maybe thinking ushering possibly isn't where it's at for me.
However, backpedaling might be quite useful in a unicycle capacity at a circus.
Yeah. So Usher, most shocked that there were actually people in the queue. Well done, that person. Lovely person.
Now, the next one is quite an interesting accolade. This Dukey Award goes to the most bullying comedian, but not in a sexist way. That's the way I like it. This goes out to Ben Fogg with his show How I Won Best Newcomer at Edinburgh Fringe 2017. He didn't.
Amazing. And he didn't win?
No.
So maybe he should also be the winner of Most Audacious Show Title.
Indeed.
Because he didn't even worry the short list nor the long list for Best Newcomer.
He did not.
And what an amazing person to be able to be an amazing bully.
Indeed.
And picking on people in the audience who had paid money for his show and who were sitting there smiling and supporting him. And while he insulted them and made them just feel generally dreadful about themselves and his show. But what he didn't do was he didn't pick on any of the women.
And he should be applauded for this.
Isn't that wonderful to be such a bully but then to kind of give the impression of, I'm going to bully you, because it's wonderful to be thought of as being a nasty, insulting bully who makes people feel dreadful, but I'm not a sexist.
Not at all.
So please don't think I'm a sexist.
A small step for bullying kind.
Isn't it just? So if you're going to be a bully, be a nasty, horrible, insulting bully, but make sure that you're not a sexist bully. So well done, Ben Fogg. Yay.
Yay.
Yay him.
Now, we're going to be slightly political with this next Dukey Award. This one goes out to the audience members most grateful for the UK leaving the EU. That's the way I like it. We went to see a best of showcase from the So You Think You're Funny shows.
A comedy buffet.
A comedy buffet.
A
Jimmy Buffett of the comedy variety. And in the audience were 5 people who hail from Antwerp.
Yeah.
And
in the front row.
Now, I've been to Belgium many times, and I've had the joy of playing there. I have been to Antwerp, a wonderful city, and indeed in Belgium for obvious reasons. The EU is an important entity. So the fact that these Belgians were in Edinburgh taking in the Fringe and also being quite have a go in their attitude by being up front is a thing of beauty. I don't think they felt that way for long because they got bullied by a number of comedians.
They were mercilessly bullied by a guy who he was Glaswegian.
Yes, Scott Gibson.
Yeah, and, he kind of looked at him to say, and I think he did just come out and say, like, why aren't you laughing at my jokes? And one of them was just really honest and said, I can't understand you.
Sorry, I've got problems understanding your Scottish accent. They were Flemish.
But obviously, they're Dutch now? What is that?
Flemish.
Okay, right.
Flemish is a legit
gotcha.
accent.
So, and I think that particular person should also win the award for the most inaccurate use of the word racist. Because when the guy was honest and said, I'm having a hard time understanding you, because if you're not from the UK, getting your ear around a Glaswegian accent just takes a little bit of practice, right?
This is true.
And their ears hadn't become attuned, obviously. And he called them racists. And I thought, well, that's not strictly accurate. I guess he could call them xenophobes if he wanted to be more accurate. But even that, I think they were just being honest. And that row of Belgians was mercilessly picked on by just about every comedian and bullied and shamed within an inch of their lives. And what a wonderful thing to So in a way, it's kind of a joint award between this Scott Gibson and then the comedian whose first name is Ishan, and joint winner of that award for making these Belgians think, I'm glad we've left the UK's left the EU, so I don't have to deal with these people.
Indeed.
But we did get one thing out of it, which was Ed Hedges.
We saw Ed Hedges, who was a breath of fresh air in this comedy buffet. A young comedian who hails from Cambridgeshire, and clearly a man that's going to be going places, and somebody who I hope will be on the Dukey Radio Show fairly soon.
I hope so, because I think we should give him a special award, like, you win the award for, the most relief that A, one of the comedians tonight is actually funny, and B, he's not bullying anyone.
No, if anything, he seemed extra appreciative that these people from Belgium had gone to the Fringe and been there to see him perform.
I thought he was just a little slice of wonderment, and I don't think you should have to be grateful for performers not yelling at you.
No,
but we were,
and he's proudly a beta male, and at this Fringe, one of the themes was just that: the rise of the beta male.
Yeah, so like a little heads up to these, alpha male bullying comedians, like maybe it's had its day. I don't know. Or maybe people like that. I don't know. Maybe people like to be bullied. Like, I don't know. Maybe they do.
I suppose at certain gigs where you're aware that a comedian has that particular style, you can understand it. But at a comedy buffet...
That's why I didn't go to that particular one, Dukey, because I don't like sitting there being stressed out, thinking this person is going to pick on me, and I don't want to be insulted and picked on. So I'm glad I didn't go. Although I'm sorry, I miss this lovely-sounding Ed Hedges person. Ed
Hedges, definitely a force to be reckoned with in comedy. I think he's going to go very, very far.
Yeah, the Ishan guy, he it's a shame because his material was really funny.
He was really funny.
Because the Belgians were sitting there being quiet, I think because they were trying to, attune their ears to the British accent, he kept bullying them for a lot. And I was thinking, you don't really need to do that because, winner of best material that doesn't need you bullying people for a laugh, because it was funny stuff. But, I was sitting there like, I don't want you to come over and bully me into laughing.
It was a comedy buffet in which some of the items which were available to sample had gone unnecessarily cold.
Yeah, or kind of, like off.
Off is a word.
It's like when you have some bad crab salad. Like you're in the buffet. Like if you know that book, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, it's about her, one of the scenes is where they have a really posh buffet, but the crab salad has gone off. So the next day, everybody's just shooting it out both ends. So it sounds like it was a buffet like that.
Indeed. Sylvia Plath or Victoria Lucas, which is the version that I read.
Oh, aren't you good,
If you're a Plath fan, you will appreciate that.
So, yeah, those Belgians are going, UK? Yeah, glad we're not part of you anymore.
UK, go away.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And the next Dukey is for the least number of fucks given at a performance. And this is indeed a joint winner with the least amount of time between being at home with your feet up and being on stage entertaining people. That's the way I like it. And this goes out to wonderful Canadian comedian Tony Law for his last-minute performance at
This Is Your Trial. I love Tony Law because he seems like a really nice person, and the least amount of time between being at home with your feet up and being on stage entertaining people came from when he kind of said, sorry, and when we were in the queue, and he was obviously on his way to the stage. And it was very clear that the performer who usually does that role had dropped out like 5 minutes before, and Tony Law got a call. And it was something like, Tony, you need to get over here right now because you need to put on a judge's wig and you need to just go with it. Right? Did you not get that feeling like
Absolutely.
when he came through the queue, like, I have no idea what I'm doing here?
He came through the queue about 5 minutes before showtime.
Yes.
And this is a trial-based comedy which is interactive in that it requires audience members to put their court cases forward. Things like...
My sister stole my thoughts.
Indeed. Yeah. Fun stuff, depending upon how drunk the people are or how sober they are. And Tony Law put on his wig and said something along the lines of, the only reason why he was recruited for this probably has something to do with his surname being Law.
Yeah, and don't forget he's joint winner with least number of fucks given because he couldn't have given less of a shit. He was like, had to play a judge, but then he started like, for some reason, being a pilot.
Yeah, he's originally from Canada and has an accent which you would, reference to his native Alberta. And he decided to eschew that particular regional accent and put on this very old school order in the court. It was nearly a convincing British accent. And then for no reason, he, when the defense were putting their cases forward, he just turned into a North American pilot and roger that. Coming in for landing. That's right. We're cruising at 30,000 feet. And I think he tried to use as many phrases as he could remember from many a courtroom film and drama.
He was a good guy, and dare I say, probably, Bryony was in that show too. But the two of them like made that thing kind of good. And he has a history of being mentioned on the Dukey Radio Show.
Indeed.
Does our Tony Law.
Yes, a couple of years back, he was involved with some pretty intense heckling. And
that was a night when it was all kicking off because everybody had been imbibing and it was like 2 a.m. and people were getting nasty.
Yes.
So I think, didn't Tony Law the nicest guy. He seems like the nicest guy in the world.
He comes across like that, and also having heard many a podcast from UK comedians, he is loved amongst the British comedy fraternity.
And he just turned.
Yes.
And you couldn't blame him. And,
somebody
somebody pulled the fire alarm just because it was getting that bad.
And they hit that fire alarm just after he said something along the lines of, "Hey, buddy, why don't you take you outside and I'll fuck you in your fucking face?"
Yeah.
Which really does Tony Law a disservice because he
does.
oozes loveliness and fluffiness.
It says more about how the audience that night was just kicking off. I mean, it was like becoming like a zoo in there. And yeah, so least number of fucks given, joint winner with least amount of time between being at home with your feet up and being on stage entertaining people. Congratulations, Tony Law.
The next Dukey goes to the best show we didn't see. There are only so many hours in the day. There are only so many days that one can financially afford to be at Edinburgh Fringe. And while we were going out and about doing our thing, many a person would come up flyering their respective wares. In about a quarter of the cases in which people are flyering and trying to get people to gigs, does the actual performer themselves come up to you?
It's fairly rare.
It is fairly rare.
It's fairly rare.
And in the case of Catriona Knox, who many listeners may know from the show Screenwipe, Charlie Brooker's show.
Charlie Brooker.
She was out there doing what she called herself as focused networking.
She was very funny.
She was absolutely hilarious.
Like, she had me doubled over laughing just in her flyering, and that's hardly ever happens.
And she was promoting her show Adorable Deplorable.
Yeah. And I'm sorry we didn't get to see it. It was just one of those things that we're only here for a certain number of days, and we'd already booked a number of tickets, and the time slots just didn't work out.
Which is a real pity. The way that she described it to us and her actual demeanour really made it something that we wanted to go and see and would have otherwise.
She kind of said to us, "You look like Guardian readers," which I really love, because if you don't know the Guardian is kind of like associated with being kind of lefty, liberal, whatever you may think about that. But I said to her, is anybody at the Fringe not a Guardian reader? And she said, yes, she actually met somebody who voted for Trump. And it was like, he must be the only person in Edinburgh at this moment who's on the side of Trump.
Indeed.
And she made that really funny. And I'm sorry we didn't go see her show, but it wasn't for want of trying.
And also, Sylvia, you made another observation about Ms. Knox.
Yes. Which was?
And that's the fact that her flyer and her appearance in person are very different.
She looked really different, and in two such beautiful ways. That, like, you're so beautiful in real life, and you're so beautiful in your flyer, and you just look really different. I guess just because she looked more casual.
This is true.
But it doesn't matter, because she's the winner of the best show we didn't see, and congratulations, Catriona Knox.
The next award goes to a friend of the Dukey Radio Show.
Uh-oh.
And it's for...
Dukey.
Yes?
Yes. Sylvia's going to start getting a little tingly here, okay? We're just warning you.
Right.
Because she gets tingly.
Yes.
When you mention this person.
Our Sylvia has a little bit of a thing for the next Dukey Award winner. It's for the best response to an empty wheelchair in the audience. And it goes to John Hastings and his excellent show, Audacity. That's the way I like it.
Wasn't it excellent?
The show was absolutely brilliant. He is amazing.
He's very amazing.
And I'm a big fan, and he was a great guest when he visited the Dukey Radio Show studios back in November 2016.
And Dukey, he's just walks that fine line between he's clearly a nice man, but not nicey nice, because he can be acerbic without being mean. And I think that's a really, really difficult line to tread. And so when he came in, when he made his entrance, there was an empty wheelchair in the audience, which must have been slightly disconcerting. And he handled it really well.
Really
well. Very good, Dukey. He handled it really well, because that must have been a bit disconcerting. But he didn't go like, oh, I'm going to shy away from it because I don't want to get myself into trouble talking about somebody who's disabled. But he didn't jump all over it and like, I'm going to be really mean to show you how down I am with the disabled. He just did that beautiful thing, like just pointing it out and saying, we all want to do wheelies in that, don't we? And we all did.
It's true.
You see an empty wheelchair, you want to do a wheelie in it. And the person whose wheelchair it was, so, just absolutely fine.
She was laughing and appreciated the fact that she had a fine piece of machinery.
Absolutely. And she just didn't want to sit in the only place that they had reserved for a wheelchair. So she went to sit somewhere else. So that left an empty wheelchair. But Mr. Hastings dealt with that so well, the way I think that he deals with everything well.
And there was also
wonderful.
He is wonderful. And there was a very young person in the audience.
Fletcher.
13 years old.
Yes.
A young lad.
And he wasn't a beagle, because Fletcher makes it sound like there was a 13-year-old beagle sitting next to us.
A 13-year-old kid from LA who managed to sneak into this particular venue, and it was a 16-plus venue, and he was absolutely brilliant.
He's wonderful. It's like Fletcher probably was thinking, why can't he be my big brother? You know what I mean? Can I give Mr. Hastings another award?
Of course.
Can I give him the award for Best Mama at the Fringe? Because his mama was at his show last year, and she was there this year, and she's obviously done a very, very good job with him.
And is incredibly supportive. I believe
Isn't she?
She goes to most of the run. And for those people not in the know, the Edinburgh Fringe runs for virtually the whole duration of August.
Yeah.
And it is a very loving and supportive mother who will go to each and every performance. And in the case of John Hastings, he is so good that I completely get it.
He's so wonderful that I think that the winner of this year's Most Bullying Comedian, but not in a sexist way, should maybe aspire to be the best, handling of an empty wheelchair in the Audience Award, because Mr. Hastings could really teach him a lesson or two of how to be a comedian, because he's just perfect. So congratulations, Mr. Hastings and friend of the Dukey Radio Show.
Indeed. The next Dukey goes to the most amount of effort gone into a subject that was bombing. And it goes to Andrew Zaltzman. Andrew Zaltzman from The Bugle and from Satirist for Hire.
Fellow podcaster.
We are big fans of the man. His sister is involved with Answer Me This, Helen Zaltzman, and pretty much every Fringe that we've gone to, we have seen his show. In fact...
And once in London. We've seen him like 5 times. He put a lot of effort into a subject that was not going to fly no matter what. He could have filled that subject up with helium, and it wasn't going to fly.
Indeed.
He could have shot it out of a cannon. It wasn't going to fly. But he put so much effort into trying to make it fly.
And with the show Satirist for Hire, he does solicit the opinions of future audience members and indeed people who might be right in front of him during the show, and will riff off of it and hopefully get some laughs.
Yeah, just sadly, nobody had actually heard of what he was riffing on, what he was satirizing, to use his phrase.
And in this particular case, he was talking about a game which came to prominence in the 1990s. I believe it was called Quake.
Yeah, I'd never... Had you heard of that?
I have, yes.
Okay, so I hadn't heard of it. Sylv, you've never heard of it. No, I never heard of it. But you know who had heard of it? Besides the audience member who suggested it, the man in front of us. He'd heard of it, so that he was doing that kind of like little kid in school who knows the answer thing, where he was like wiggling his butt in his chair, like all but raising his hand going, I know. So there was like 2 people who were fans of this game, and even Andy Saltzman hadn't heard of it. So, and there was like 100 people in there.
Yes.
So that was like 98 people who don't really know anything about this game. And he satirized it for like 15 minutes.
I remember one of the lines.
Yes.
Quake. It sounds like the noise that a posh duck makes.
That's funny.
That was funny, but the remaining 14 minutes of banter. Involved a great deal of impressive wordplay, but
he worked so hard, and bless his heart, that subject was never going to fly, but Mr. Saltzman was like, somebody suggested it, so I have to do it. So he put a lot of effort. It was never going to fly. Congratulations, Andy Saltzman, on the most amount of effort gone into a subject that was a bombing award.
And Saltzman normally never bombs. It's important that we say that, but he handled
wasn't
it.
Bombing, the subject was bombing.
Indeed, and there is
Absolutely.
a big difference. The next award goes to the most restraint shown by performers who wanted to thump an audience member. And this one goes out to the aforementioned This Is Your Trial.
Those women, let me correct that. Not just women, but all of the performers on stage who were Tony Law and Bryony Redman and that other amazing woman whose last name I can't remember. I think it was Allison
Scott,
spelled with a K.
Double-barreled Scott.
She was amazing. So when they had the audience member up on stage to put him on trial, as it were, this kind of older guy, he called the women performers prostitutes. And I think he needs to go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
He was an elderly man who had hearing problems and clearly some moral issues as well.
I think he thought he was trying to be funny. And Tony Law and Allison and Bryony Redman, who are all up on stage, and the guy who was emceeing, were all like, right, we really want to lay into this asshole, but we can't because we're kind of, we're kind of scripted here. We have to do this. But I think if they had just been a stand-up, there's an excuse for you want to hey, if you're a comedian who likes bullying people, you stick with people like that, right?
Indeed.
And those, you could just tell, like, they were just like, we want to lay into you and we got to be nice to you. And his wife was in the audience, and everybody was kind of looking at her like, you're married to this dickhead. So those performers showed a lot of restraint, like a lot. So I think that award for most restraint shown by performers who want to thump an audience member, definitely well-deserved. Well-deserved, and congratulations to you guys.
And talking about aggression and restrained aggression.
Yeah.
The next Dukey goes to the best dressed aggressive audience member, which goes out to a chap who was resplendent with sartorial elegance at the talented Mr. Hawke. That's the way I like it. Troy Hawke, Milo McCabe, another friend of the Dukey Radio Show.
Yes.
While Milo McCabe was doing his Troy Hawke thing on stage, it was a free fringe show, and there were a number of people who, shall we say, had imbibed a wee bit too much.
It was a
who
little
were to
rowdy.
the right of us.
Yeah, given the time of day, because it was only like 3 o'clock or something.
Indeed. And there was a chap in front of us who was sporting a cravat, which one would assume a diehard Troy Hawke fan would wear.
Yes, he looked like a very imposing man in
Indeed.
his article of sartorial elegance, which is a phrase that I can't get enough of.
Indeed. And he got up, had to cross the main aisle, and politely, mainly with a look on his face, told them that they had to shut the fuck up. And he succeeded. But he did so with such elegance, and he really was well turned out.
Then he sat down with an air of, if anybody else would like to fuck with me, go right ahead, because I am waiting. And you just didn't associate it with that kind of article of clothing, because there was another man in that audience who looked like, oh my word, like if a tractor trailer came to life, it would be this man. Like, he was like 5 feet across and 5 feet tall and just sheer, like steel muscle. And he had a shaved head and Mr. Troy Hawk asked him which side his politics were on, to the right or the left, and he said to the right. So maybe he's the Trump voter that Catriona mentioned.
Indeed.
And you would think if anybody in here is going to go silence some rowdy people by telling them they better shut up or go fuck themselves, you would have thought it would be him, but that's such terrible stereotyping. Who would have thought it would be the man who's wearing the cravat?
Indeed.
So best dressed aggressive audience member definitely goes to that man.
If ever I'm in a position where I need to have security, I want to find this chap.
Isn't it
and
just?
ensure that he wears the cravat. It seems appropriate for yours truly.
I think it's a lesson in stereotyping.
Indeed. The next Dukey Award goes to Best Use of a Burrito at Edinburgh Fringe.
Dancing Australians.
And it goes to Lauren Bock. And her show, Is That a Burrito in Your Pocket? Or Are You Just Happy That You Have a Burrito?
It's a good title.
It's a very good title.
She comes under the category of Dancing Australians because we've seen a lot of...
A long history of seeing dancing Aussies.
Australian comedians and performers at the Fringe, and there always somehow seems to be a dance. And when we came in, she was dancing.
She was.
And it was great. It was a great way to start the show. And then she ended the show with a burrito.
Which is a great way to incorporate Tex-Mex cuisine
Absolutely.
into your show.
It was fabulous.
And she tied all of the topics from her sombrero of topics. I'm trying to keep a Tex-Mex here. I hope you appreciate that.
Yeah, we
and
appreciate
then weave
that.
them into a burrito, which she then consumed.
I just thought, I always think about people's props, right? When we go to the Fringe, I always think, especially if it's something perishable, I think, you have to buy that every day. So she had to buy tortillas every day so that she could perform her it was kind of almost like burlesque, which was using them as burlesque fans. I gotta buy another packet of tortillas, and that must be hard. If you go to the local store and they're out, and then you get in a panic.
And this is Edinburgh.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is Edinburgh.
Yeah. So, I always respect performers that do that. That's we've seen people who had grapes as part of their show and stuff like that. You have to buy that every day. And I would just panic. What if they're out? You know what? Speaking of burritos and speaking of burlesque. I like that comedian, John Robbins, who had that great line about burlesque.
Yes.
That he said, nobody actually likes burlesque. It's just there.
It's just there.
And I thought, that's true. You can feel 200 people in the audience go, oh, yeah, that's kind of true. Nobody actually likes it. They're just there.
The people who take part clearly benefit from it.
Yeah.
They're celebrating femininity. There's power, and people with various different body types are able to rock it. But do I like it?
I don't. Yeah.
No. Does anybody like it?
I always kind of thought that I did, but when he said that, it was kind of like self-help group. It kind of it gave me permission to not. Oh yeah, it's just there. I don't have to like it.
It's a bit
there.
of a sacred cow.
Yeah, it's Dita Von Teese. You're very pretty. I don't need to like. I like people who perform with burritos. And Lauren Bach, she's probably heading back to Australia as we speak. But and I wish her well because she did well with the burrito dance, and it was good, right?
It was absolutely brilliant.
And she did good audience kind of questions.
She certainly did.
She made me realize something about myself, Dukey.
What is that?
Which I didn't realize.
What's that?
See, I didn't know that I didn't have to like burlesque, and I also didn't know that I kind of have. I'm too old for him now, but I kind of have a crush on Trent.
From Daria. Well.
That's what she made me realize about myself. Yeah, I kind of had a crush on him. Not now, because I'm too old, but at the time, Trent, yeah. Absolutely.
Dukey Radio Show listeners will no doubt be aware that I have a bit of a thing for Daria, so...
You definitely love your Daria, Dukey. That Dust Bowl humor, you just love it, which we will come to.
Indeed.
Because one of the comedians really flipped your switch, just in terms of just sheer adoration and respect and admiration.
Yes.
So we will come to her, but best use of a burrito, Lauren Bach, definitely. The next Dukey Award goes to Best Audience Member versus Gorilla. Game of Twister goes to the comedy troupe Foil, Arms, and Hog.
This was a close call because obviously this ingredient featured quite heavily at the Fringe.
See it all the time.
The Irish comedy troupe managed to win by one twister maneuver.
Yeah, you see it all the time. Audience members playing Twister with a gorilla. And I don't need... do you need to even say more than that? Foil, Arms, and Hog, 3 names. So the 3 guys in the Irish comedy troupe. Look them up on YouTube because they're put their sketches on YouTube and they're making a big name, and it's well deserved.
Absolutely. We saw them last year, and in the last 12 months, they have gone from strength to strength. 3 really talented lads. And the one thing I loved about their show this year and last year is that they clearly love what they're doing, and it's infectious.
You also find out what actually happens to your luggage when it's being conveyed from airport to airport.
Indeed.
You find out what actually goes on. And so, if nothing else, you should go just to find out, because it just clarifies everything. Yeah, they're a slice of comedy heaven. And yeah, Best Audience Member versus Gorilla Game of Twister. Well-deserved. Foil, Arms, and Hog.
The next Dukey, the Best Grief Hoedown. And the winner is John Robbins. John Robbins was the partner of popular British comedian Sarah Pascoe. They split up last December on a very auspicious date, and his comedy show is all about the breakup and
they're both doing dueling shows at the Edinburgh Fringe, both about the breakup, and he just won the Edinburgh Award. He's a joint winner with another comedian who we don't know called Hannah Gadsby. I think she's Australian. And so it's the first time there's ever been a joint award at Edinburgh, and so well deserved. If you do a grief hoedown, to me, you're just gonna have to win the award for best grief hoedown. I mean, that's just as simple as that.
I remember kind of vaguely the hoedown was something along the lines of, she told me she was leaving on Christmas Day, Christmas Day, Christmas Day. She told me she was leaving on Christmas Day. And the audience ended up taking part, and it was really, really, really good. I make it sound as though it's kind of a...
It's Cockney.
Yeah, and the hoedown was, but he's quite well spoken.
If you can turn your grief into a knee slapper, I think big up to you, John Robbins. He doesn't need us bigging him up, but we're going to big him up anyway.
His show was genuinely beautiful.
Best grief hoedown. Lots of competition out there, but he certainly got it. Definitely. Congratulations, John Robbins.
And the next award goes to another friend of the Dukey Radio Show.
Yes.
And it means a lot being able to say that.
Yes.
And this particular person is an absolute talent tour de force. The award is for most accurate show title, and it goes out to the wonderful Pippa Evans. That's the way I like it. For Joy Provision, and that is exactly what her show did. It was wonderful.
You can't say any more than that, Dukey. She called it Joy Provision. She provided an hour of unmitigated joy. That woman could fill a stadium with her talent and the joy she provides. What more can you say? Congratulations, Pippa, for most accurate show title.
The next award goes for the show best described by making up a new word. I'm going to tell you who the winner is, and then after we hear Casey and the Sunshine Band, incidentally, before we give the award, Sylvia,
yes.
I understand you had a vehicular altercation with Casey, but not the Sunshine Band.
I have history with him, Dukey.
What happened?
And it's not good history. Well, it makes me sound like a bit of an asshole, but I'm going to say it anyway. I happen to be in Honolulu.
As one does.
Yes, you do. And I was driving through a parking lot, and I very accidentally, cut him off in a car park. And
how dare you?
I know, I really didn't mean to. And he gave me the finger. And I thought, oh my God, Casey and the Sunshine Band is flipping me off. I think that's amazing. If that had happened to me, I'd have that printed on a T-shirt. I'd have it tattooed. Casey and the Sunshine Band flipped me off. Not so sunshiny now, are you there, Mr. Flipping the Bird guy? Right? Not so sunshiny. So I did feel bad, but I was also kind of, oh my God. I mean, I grew up listening to Casey and the Sunshine Band. So, and now he's flipping me off. So it's kind of like, maybe it's like how stalkers feel, like people who stalk celebrities, and the celebrities are like crying and telling to go away and take him to court and stuff. And they're thinking like, any attention is good attention because they're bonding with me in some way. Like, I kind of feel like maybe I should feel like that. Like, this person from my childhood is flipping me off, and it's not very nice, but hey, it's a celebrity who kind of knows who I am now.
Do a little dance, make a little love.
Yes.
Flip off the person that's just cut you up in the car park in Honolulu.
Mr. Casey and Mr. Not So Sunshiny Band, if you're listening to this, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. And maybe you need to get your anger issues under control there, man, and be a little bit more sunshiny. You hear Pippa Evans, accurate because she's called a joy provision and she provided joy. Yeah, maybe try to increase your accuracy. Sunshine, yeah, maybe you need to call it like a grim hurricane, right?
Casey and the Not So Sunshiny Band.
Yeah, not so sunshiny. Yeah, so that's my
Casey story.
My Casey story. My claim to fame.
Oh, is this it?
Yes, that's my claim to fame, Dukey.
It's yet to be eclipsed by any other
that's my only
experience.
claim. Oh, no, I have a Joan Armatrading claim to fame, but that's different.
For another time.
For another time.
Back to the award.
Yes.
So this goes out to the show best described by making up a new word. And it goes out to the multi-talented David Huntsberger and his show Big Nothingness. That's the way I like it. David Huntsberger is quite famous in the podcasting world. He was 1/3 of Professor Blastoff. He's a regular participant on Alison Rosen's excellent podcast. Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend. And he oozes a gentle charm that is very much welcome in the Edinburgh Fringe. And I hope he appreciates this, is part of the revolution of beta males.
I don't think he would mind that because, you're a beta male and you're wonderful. There's
Thank
lots
you.
of beta males out there who are wonderful.
Indeed.
Can I just say, just to objectify him as well, he's a cutie patootie.
He's very pretty.
He's a cutie patootie.
And he's lovely. We saw a bit of his show quite randomly because we already had tickets to see him. And we saw him do 3 or 4 minutes at the Fast Fringe, which is
a sampler.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a sort of like a buffet sampler.
Yes.
And I had the chance to chat with him really, really briefly, and he just seemed so appreciative that somebody from these shores knew of his work on the other side of the pond.
So what word? You making up a word?
Indeed.
To describe him? His show? Because I didn't go to his show.
Yeah.
But so what?
His show come lecture come multimedia experience
Wonderful animations.
is otherworldly.
Yes.
And
Whimsical.
Yes, whimsical is
one
the
of the
word.
words.
His particular take on whimsy is uniquely his. And
Uniquely male, because
Uniquely
we've seen a lot
male.
of whimsy, and it's usually women.
Indeed, Josie Long, for
is very
instance.
whimsical.
Yes.
So you usually, and Claudia O'Doherty, another dancing Australian performer,
Indeed.
was very whimsical, and he's very whimsical, and he's a male plus whimsy.
is mimsy.
Mimsy.
So the wonderful David Huntsberger and Big Nothingness made us come up with mimsy.
I have to say that, Marsha, you weren't at the show, but you read his comic book because he was very kind and gave you a comic book.
He did
that
indeed.
does.
Called Just Perfect Comics and Blatherings.
Have you ever seen Marsha laugh so hard?
No, it really resonated with her.
His comics are hilarious and kind of like dark, which I love. So yeah, I'm sorry I missed him and his male whimsicality. I'm glad I read the comic book because that's some sheer talent right there. So yeah, I guess it's well deserved then. The show best described by making up a new word. Yeah, well done, Mr. Huntsberger.
The next Dukey Award goes out to the best example of nearly seeing a show unintentionally. And it goes out to Pants and Pantsability. We were at a diner, we were having breakfast. I was tucking into some veggie haggis and the full Scottish breakfast that accompanied it, and I needed to do some downloading. I went to use the loo, and the loo door and the door to the venue were right next to each other. And while going on my way to the bogs, the person who was performing in Pants and Pantsability, Pam Ford, assumed that I was going to be seeing her show, patted me on the back and said, "Hurry on, get in, the show's about to begin."
Awkward.
And I felt really awkward because I had a need and it wasn't necessarily to see her show.
Awkward. And can I just say, if you're not British, that the word pants means underwear and not like pants.
Indeed. You
So
wear
that's
pants
the play.
beneath your trousers.
And I would have been a little scared to go see her because we saw people being herded into her show, and they were kind of being made to walk in like crocodile formation, like when you're like 5 and you're going on a field trip, like where you have to walk hand in hand with, you know, your little school partner. And they were, yeah. So, you know, Pants and Pantsability, the show that you nearly saw after, as you say, downloading.
Indeed.
I mean, that's risky business to be having, you know, literally to be having your show right next to the restrooms, because you're just recruiting people who are coming out from having a Waz.
This is true.
I don't know what her show is like. You know, I hope she did well.
The audience who were taking part in that particular performance definitely looked like they were waiting for the arrival of Cocoon.
Yeah, it was weird. It was kind of like, you know, like a cruise ship. It just pulled up just to go to this show. Like the demographic was kind of weird and
Genuinely, the average age of around 80.
Yeah, which is unusual at the Fringe, because at the Fringe, I'd say like the average age is like 30. So, you know, it was just kind of strange, and I hope they enjoyed it. Yeah, I hope, you know, Pants and Pantsability. Go.
I enjoyed downloading and I enjoyed finishing my full Scottish veggie breakfast, and I felt really guilty for having to
Never feel guilty for
to
finishing.
remove her hand from my back.
Never feel guilty, Dukey, for finishing your veggie haggis. Never.
Never ever.
And they do good porridge there.
They certainly do.
You know what people don't understand, maybe, who don't live on these many islands that are wonderful? They don't understand that porridge, the most humble breakfast meal that you can have, besides toast, can be an amazing thing.
It's better north of the border.
You just can't.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you haven't had porridge or oatmeal, whatever you call it, in Scotland, then you just haven't had it. Because you can take a humble ingredient and just take it to stratospheric levels of wonderfulness. So since being home, I've really missed the porridge.
And I've asked Scottish friends, both in Scotland and living in England, what it is about Scottish porridge that makes it so good. And
It's a mystery.
I've had salt cited as an example.
Yes.
And I realise that is a unique twist on the theme. But I think it's different. I think it's about the water that's used up there, the water that comes out of the Scottish taps, and, as you've said, the Scottishness.
Maybe it's like you have to be Texan to make proper barbecue or something like that.
Or from
I
the
don't necessarily
Carolinas
agree
or
with that.
from
Yeah, something
Kansas
like that.
City, apparently.
But you have to be Scottish to make really good porridge.
This is true. It is really
It
special.
is really good.
Now, Marsha, you're going to feature in the next award.
Yeah.
This is for the worst reason ever to start a Twitter account.
Dukey listeners, I need you guys to help me out with this because I've been resisting going on Twitter for a long time. Because I just think, I heard a guy say once, you know, when people were complaining about getting in fights on Twitter, he said, if you don't want to get it covered in shit, don't get into the cesspit. And, you know, all I hear about Twitter is people getting in fights. And it's usually like when they describe women on Twitter having a little bit of a thing, you know, it's described as a Twitter spat, or you get death threats or, you know, horrible things said to you. So I've resisted, right?
Until the Edinburgh Fringe.
Until the worst reason on earth. So certain, you know, I'm a bully, but please don't call me a sexist guy was being insulting to all the men in the audience, and you came in for some of that, which really pissed me off. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start up a Twitter account just so that I can you know, go for him on Twitter, right?
So you set up the Twitter account so
that I could tweet, "Go fuck yourself."
Go fuck yourself.
But rather than using it as a conduit for releasing your bile, you decided to use it for good.
Well, I just thought if I do that, then I'm guilty of doing the very thing that I hate about Twitter. So, Dukey, can I just say that, you know, that we saw that guy's show on like Monday or something?
Yes, it was our first day at the Fringe.
It's the first day, so like, and now we're a week later, and it's taken I've had to harness every screed of willpower that I have. Every minute of these past 7 days without respite to not go on Twitter and tell him to go fuck himself. Because I just feel like, for me, that would be against my personal principles. I'm not saying other people might not share these principles, but for me, it's exhausting.
The temptation.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have not realised.
Yeah. So
your primary aims, because to be fair, you set it up with the primary aim of using it for rage.
Yeah, and I just thought, you know, there's enough rage in the world. There's certainly enough for me. There's enough rage on the internet. So I decided to do the opposite and just use it to big up people who I like. But the problem with that is I don't have any followers
Yet.
So yeah. So I was thinking, like, you know, if you tweet something nice about somebody that you've seen and nobody's there to hear it, is it still nice?
It will remain nice, especially if it's being retweeted.
Yeah, I just hope, because I did tweet about a number of comedians who were mentioning on the show today, and I just hope that they don't go like, well, what the fuck are you tweeting about me for? You don't have any followers. I just hope that they could use it to retweet it like, hey, here's another one of the millions of people who loves me.
If you'd like to follow Marsha McDonald on the Twitter,
please,
you can link up with her via @Marsha Mac. What up?
Marsha Mac, what up? And I'm just going to put it out there. Could you please follow me? Because right now I got the big goose egg.
It's early days. I've got a quote for you here that may resonate with you.
Yeah.
And I need to get into character a bit. So are you ready?
I'm drinking coffee, but yeah. Which is my picture on Twitter is an actual coffee that I was having.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's quite fitting.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go. I need to get into character. Oh my God. I got 1 follower. Kim Kardashian, upon receiving her first follower on Twitter.
That's heartening.
It has to start somewhere.
I would call that heartening. And, when I was setting up my Twitter account, all of a sudden I turned into like Fred Flintstone. Like, I use a computer every day and a phone. I'm not a cave person.
You are what I would describe as an advanced user.
Yeah, I've taught myself how to use a program that, not a lot of people use yet. And, so I'm not like a Luddite, but all of a sudden I'm like Wilma Flintstone here. Like, and I'm asking you, it's asking me for my phone number. Does that mean that people are going to be able to call me? And you said, correctly, if that was the case, Kim Kardashian would be taking like 6 million phone calls a day.
Kanye, can you hold on? I need to answer this.
Yeah, so so that was stupid. And then I had to ask you for my Twitter, what should my Twitter handle be? Because, Twitter suggests like Marsha Mac 127ZR1291628.
Catchy. Memorable.
Yeah, memorable. So, yeah, and Sylvia, you don't have a Twitter. I do not have a Twitter just because I just feel like I don't need any more excuses to be on my laptop because I'm on it enough. So I don't have her. I got the big goose egg. So, yeah. Definitely, I appreciate the award. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Dukey. I'd like to thank the Dukey Radio Show. I'd like to thank Sylvia Silversmith. I couldn't have done it without you guys. I'd like to thank Mr. Bullying Comedian, but please don't think I'm a sexist, for worst reason to set up a Twitter account award. I thank you very much. I'm humbled. Okay? Humbled.
Touching.
Yeah.
Very touching.
You gonna cry?
Indeed.
Oh my God, am I doing a Gwyneth Paltrow? Am I just being like overly emoting here like I tend to do?
You have to thank Horatio MacDonald for inspiring you to use a computer in the first place.
Yeah, okay, I'll thank Horatio, whoever the fuck that is.
MacDonald?
My cousin. Yeah, my cousin Horatio.
Indeed.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
okay.
You just go on and on about
So I'm
Horatio.
humbled. I will put this award up on my non-existent mantelpiece.
The next Dukey goes out to the worst time for your bank to engage their anti-fraud precautions by stopping you spending any money. And it goes out to Marsha McDonald.
That's the way I like it.
I'm humbled. Oh, wow, 2 in a row?
2 awards in a row.
That was really bad timing, wasn't it? It was bad timing. Like when you're checking into your accommodation for the Fringe, and the woman, she's looking at the computer as she's running your card through, and just shaking her head and shaking her head and shaking her head and shaking her head, and I'm like, what? I kind of liked her. if you know what I mean.
She was a comfortable shoe wearer.
I did like her a lot. I liked her shaved head, and she looked really cool. Anyway, away from that, so I'm standing there having a heart attack and going, the money's there. It's a lot of money. It's, for 5 days accommodation at Edinburgh. It's a lot of money during the Fringe. And I'm like, but the money's there. The money's there. And then I found out, like, my bank decided that was the moment to say, we've put a stop on all payments coming out of your account because of our anti-fraud protection. So, like, nothing's happened. Nobody stole anything, but they just decided that was the moment. No, we're not going to let you spend anything because just in case it's fraud. Like, aren't there better times to be doing it? You couldn't do that when I was, like, paying for a coffee. All right, maybe not coffee because that is serious.
No, but that extra round that you're going to buy for a bunch of strangers that you met at 4 a.m. at some club somewhere and will never see again.
Stop me now.
The bad ideas bears telling you you have to work tomorrow.
Oh, I got bad ideas bears. Or like, if I'm I never do this, but if I'm watching, QVC, the shopping channel on.
You do it.
Sometimes. Yeah. At 4 a.m. and like, I just have to have that slanket. You can't stop me then and say, no, we're not going to let this money go out and give me pause for thought. No, you're giving it to me so where I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to have to sleep on the street for worst time. Thank you. I'm humbled by that award. The worst time for the bank to put on the anti-fraud device.
Whenever you deal with banks, there are charges galore. And they will levy all kinds of fees and whatnot when you're dealing with them.
Yeah.
All the reason more to appreciate the free things in life, particularly when those free things are found at Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
And this next award goes out to the best free item that we enjoyed at Edinburgh Fringe. And because there is a winner and a close runner-up, we have a joint winner here, I'm going to play a bit of Casey and then we'll discuss.
That's the way I like it.
The main winner is for a production that we saw, a theatrical production that we saw called What If the Plane Falls Out of the Sky. And the three items, and it is a plural here, a mojito and a cold one at that. Very cold.
It's really cold.
And mini cheddars mid-performance.
Dukey, this show was my idea because, as you know, and Marsha knows, but listeners may or may not know that I'm very, 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 very scared to fly. So I just thought, what a great title for a show. Yes, What If the Plane Falls Out of the Sky? And I thought that it was going to be whimsy. I thought it was going to be one woman whimsy because that's kind of how it was billed in the program. And it wasn't. It was three kooky performers.
2 women, 1 man.
Yeah, it was kooky.
It was kooky. It's Dadaist comes to mind.
It was very Dada indeed. I mean, Duchamp would be proud.
Indeed. And at one stage, and this explains Irene's wonderful vocal performance at the top of this episode of the Dukey Radio Show, they did a beautifully choreographed and syncopated dance routine to Laurie Anderson's Oh Superman, which is not a track you would normally associate with such things.
Oh, Superman.
It's an interesting song.
Oh, John.
The 3 performers from this troupe, who are called Idiot Child, incidentally, were all wearing tabards, and they had special compartments for storing mini cheddars as well as the ice-cold mojitos.
They were ice cold. And I'm not really a mojito drinker. And we'd already had 2 Prosecco's that day, and it was like 4 o'clock.
We were having Prosecco breakfasts on this particular Fringe.
We were, and there are other breakfast beverages. And I kind of thought, I'll go in for the mojito because this show is trippy.
Decidedly.
And the mojito got me pretty hammered. But I think that this show should also win another award. And I think that award is, I think it should win the, excuse me, I'm getting all emotional over this.
Clearly.
I think they should win the best performance of a raw sausage having a dialogue with a Barbie doll.
And then being attacked by a shark
Yes.
in the form of a sock puppet after the talking sausage's demise, being cooked on a heated grill.
Actually cooked.
Yeah, it genuinely was being cooked.
So well done to What If the Plane Falls Out of the Sky? It's done by Idiot Child Productions, because they're
Out of Bristol.
Yes, they've won 2 awards, which is Best Free Items and also Best Performance of a Raw Sausage interacting with a Barbie doll, including a shark. This is difficult for me. Shark sock puppet. Well done.
That's well done.
Very
you.
well done.
So an award within an award. And the next free item award at the Fringe goes out to...
Runner-up, my new sister, Carmen Lynch.
What a brilliant American import. Hailing from New York City, we caught her, thankfully, at the Fast Fringe and saw her full show a couple of days later. She is absolutely brilliant.
The Dukey Radio Show is head over heels.
I'm a big fan. I think she
Head over
is
heels.
absolutely wonderful.
So
Very funny.
The only problem I had with her show was, I was sitting there going, she and I kind of are a lot alike. And,
Yes.
you know, it's that dry sense of humor with that constant irony. And I was thinking, don't you and Sylv get enough of that hanging around me?
No.
Okay, so that's nice.
We need more of this in the UK.
And then I was having a total panic because when performers do the free Fringe, you don't buy tickets, obviously, because it's free. But what they do is finish their show and then meet you outside with some kind of receptacle. And she looked like she had just taken all like her utensils and flung them out of her, you know, the thing that you use to dry your cutlery in, and flung it out and just used that, which I love. And I was just thinking, it kind of dawned on me like 5 minutes into her show, shit, I don't have any money. Because the bank put a stop on my card, I had to take a shitload of cash out from my credit card. And I took a shitload out because, you know, they charge you up the wazoo.
Bastards.
For cash withdrawals on a credit card. So I thought, I don't want to keep taking little bits out and being charged like £2 a time. So I took out a fucking buttload and then I hid it in the room because I don't want to be carrying it around with me. Right? No. And stupid me left it all in the room. So I'm sitting there thinking, shit. I love this woman. She's like one of my favorite people, or if not the favorite performer at the Fringe. Yeah, I'm just going to give her that. She's like my favorite performer at the Fringe. And I'm thinking, I can't pay her. Shit. So I'm opening up my wallet and I'm dibbling around in my wallet going, shit, man, what do I, please let me. And Dukey, Sylvia, I gave her all of my money. I gave her all of my money. So, like, before we saw her, my wallet weighed like 5 pounds.
You could use it to keep
We used it as a doorstop.
Genuinely, yes,
Yeah.
and it worked.
After her show, my wallet is like featherweight. And it's because I just took all of my change and dumped it at her.
Including all the copper.
Oh, and then I felt like kind of a chump because, like, you know, like when you tip like waiters, you're not supposed to leave like copper because it means like your service wasn't actually very good. I don't want Karma to think that. I was just like, I'm going to give her all of my money. And then I thought maybe I should ask her, if you just give me your bank account details, I'll just sign over my next paycheck to you.
Carmen, do you accept PayPal?
Yeah, like I will give you all of my money. So, yeah, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry I had to give her coppers, but I did. And then I told her for the second time at the Fringe, I told her that I loved her.
In fact, the second time you said something slightly different.
Well, the first time when we saw her as part of the comedy sampler, I just walked by and took her flyer and said, loving you.
And the second time you said, I love you so hard.
I told her I loved her so hard just because I feel like she's like a kindred spirit.
Which sounds like something that our neighbour who has to find his glow in a special way may hear from the people that he liaises with.
Yeah, less said about that, the better. So I love her because I just feel like somebody else on this earth is me, and it's a good thing. So she made me feel better about being me. And when I said I love you so hard, she gave me a free pen. She said, oh, thank you. Have a pen. And I have it. It's a clicky pen, and it's clicky, and it says hold me on it. And then it gives her a website. Can I give her a website?
Absolutely. www.carmenlynch.com, CarmenLynch.com. She lives in New York, sadly for us here in the UK. And I just don't want her to go back. I don't want her to go back either. I have a feeling she's probably flying back like tomorrow or the next day. And I'm going to feel a sadness when she leaves these shores. The UK will be a duller place without having her doing her thing all over a fair lot of islands.
You and one of her friends started tussling over her on Twitter. See, this is what happens over Twitter, because you said, Carmen, you need to stay on these shores. We need you.
Yes.
And one of her friends in America said, no, I think you'll find in the United States that we need her more, which, to be fair, you can't really argue with. They do need her more there.
This is true.
And you know, she called me her sis.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, Dukey, I think that's the best thing that's happened to me for a month. You know, I just feel, like when you just meet a kindred spirit, like you just feel like the world is okay. And so that's why, well done, Carmen Lynch, for best runner-up at best free thing. And the only reason she didn't win was because in the Sausage v. Barbie doll show, we actually needed the mojitos. We needed it. I mean, it wasn't boring, right? The show wasn't boring by any means. It was just, we needed the free thing to keep us going. Whereas Carmen, she just has to be herself. She doesn't need free stuff. And that's why she's runner-up.
Indeed.
That's a lot about Carmen. So
deservedly so.
Yeah, we like her a lot.
Now,
she's TDRS sister.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sylvia, you need to set up this next Dukey Award. This is something that we narrowly escaped.
It was
an
escape.
It must have been really cringeworthy. So, yes, set it up for us.
Well, it was my fault because I nearly made us go see this because this was my idea. So, but this is the award for most cringeworthy audience participation. The Dukey Radio Show will forever be grateful we weren't there for. Yay!
That's the way I like it.
We're going to protect the names of the guilty here in the cringe-causing state.
Let's not name the show because I think people are enjoying the show for many different reasons, and
Indeed.
It doesn't matter. And let's just say it was a theatrical production that I really wanted to go see, and we found out that it was sold out. We went to buy tickets, and it was sold out.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thank God. I'm just saying, thank God, because Sylvia, I love you dearly. If I had to do this, I would have. It might have been friendship ending. And I wouldn't blame you a bit because there was a review of this show in the paper, and they don't need us to like them because they're doing fine.
So a show that's
fine.
a show that's 1 hour in duration.
Yes, and it was partly a play, and the play only lasted, I've read, for 13 minutes.
Right.
Which means you have 47 minutes. How many minutes?
A number
47
of minutes. Yes.
A lot of minutes.
Yes.
To then have audience participation, and we've since found out that the audience participation was that you had to have what they call a splurge, which is a good word for me. A splurge. You had to have a splurge, and a splurge meant that the audience members had to roll around on the floor making noises.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what mine would have been? Mine would have been a great big old see ya.
Go fuck yourself.
When the audience has to provide the entertainment,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder why, as an audience member, you've had to pay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have maybe gone the whole hog of the go fuck yourself, because that's a thing that needs to be used with, targeted use. I think it would have just been a great big old see ya. I'm not
See ya.
doing this, okay? I'm not rolling around the floor making any noises. And yeah, Sylv, that would have been tough to keep this friendship going. Do you agree with me, Dukey?
I agree.
We would have been...
I concur.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, best, what was it again? Most cringeworthy audience participation. The Dukey Radio Show will forever be grateful we weren't there for. I think that is well deserved for the splurge.
The fact that it was sold out
was
meant
sold out, yeah.
that TDRS was spared the splurge.
Yeah, and they don't need us, and it's fine. I wish him the best of luck. I'm very sorry for such a narrow escape. And yes, the big dog in the sky was looking over us for sure.
Here.
Best coping strategy for audience members seeking to avoid being riffed off of.
The fact that most of the shows that we went to see were decidedly sparse in the front row as people were entering the venues is a potent indicator that audience members are a little bit wary of being picked on. And we came up with some strategies to assist those people who are not keen on being riffed on.
And this award goes to being from an innocuous city and working as a charity fundraiser.
In the United Kingdom, I thought it best to say, when people ask you where you're from, to use Bedford as an answer. Nobody has an opinion on Bedford, not even people from deepest Bedfordshire.
Can we unpick this a little bit? Because firstly, every comedian when they're doing, we've only just found out, I only just found out that when comedians pick on audience members, I don't mean like audience participation, like where they're going to have you play Twister with a gorilla. Because if that's well handled, and it was in a lot of different shows, then that's totally cool. But the crowd work is where they go up to people, usually in the front row, and go, "What is your name? What do you do for a living?" Or, "What is your name? Where are you from?" Should we, as a human race, just decide that that's done? Because, I'm always sitting there going, I don't care what their name is or what they do or what, I don't care. So if I was a comedian, I'd be thinking, well, what can I do that's different? Like, what kind of things do you have in your drawer? That kind of thing. Like, everybody's got a drawer, where it's all the stuff. I would ask something like that just to be different. But we've learned that if you do get that question that's saying, what, Bedford?
Yes.
Why Bedford?
Because nobody has an opinion on it. It's quite an innocuous place. I have played in Bedford, a venue called Esquires. It's still there, by the way. Do go looking for it. But it's a place that nobody has an opinion of. And it's too innocuous to have the piss taken out of it. If you're in North America, I would use Lethbridge, Alberta. Nobody will have an opinion on it.
Right.
Not that I have any issue with Lethbridgians.
What about Duluth?
Duluth, Minnesota. You see, Bob Dylan is from there.
Oh, right.
It's a place that has links to it that people know. And also with Minnesota, people will start to take the piss out of the accent.
I
yeah.
see.
Oh, for sure.
So-
not sure about your police work there.
So you want the comedian...
Except in an accent that's from there.
So you want the performer to be going tick, 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 tick. What do I know about this place? Nothing.
Nobody will
I know
have anything
nothing.
to say about Bedford. Really.
So if people ask you what you do for a living, if you say, I'm a charity fundraiser.
For a cancer charity.
Oh, okay. So then they're going, I can't make a joke about that because everybody will hate me. Or if they do, then they're pretty brave, I guess.
Well, yeah, indeed.
So Dukey, you be the performer and I'll be, because I need to role play this because there's nothing I hate more than crowd work, because I just hate it. It makes me break out into a sweat. And I think I'm paying money for somebody to embarrass me. So could I role play this? Would that
Absolutely.
be okay?
You certainly are quite lively for a Thursday night. Right, okay, darling, here. You're looking quite lovely in your green ensemble. What is it, like St. Patrick's Day or something?
No, I just like green.
Right. And anyway, so what's your name?
Sylvia. Sylvia Silver.
All right. Oh, so you got a bit of a lisp there, but you've got the whole alliteration thing happening. What do you do for a living?
I'm a charity fundraiser for children with learning difficulties.
Right. Okay. And where are you from then? You've got a bit of an accent there.
I'm from Lethbridge, Alberta.
Right. Where's that?
In Canada.
Right. Okay. Right. Anyway. All right. This guy over here is giving me the evils. ... The person has moved on. You've given me nothing to riff off of.
Except my lisp.
Indeed. Yes. But that would possibly be cruel. And you were wearing all green.
That's true. Okay, so yeah, that makes me feel better actually, because I don't care if people make a joke about my lisp, because it's fine. What's wrong with having a lisp? I just think I'm even more scared of people talking to me in that kind when I'm an audience member, because I think, oh, it just means I'm going to be in the spotlight longer. But like you say, they'll think like equal opportunities. If I make fun of this woman's speech impediment, that'll make me look like an asshole.
Yes.
So they won't want to go there either.
I mean, I suppose if you are from another continent, like in the case of this northern comedian who's trying to riff with you,
yes,
there may be a follow-up question of, what brings you to, Scotland? I mean, bloody hell.
The porridge.
Right, so you're here for porridge.
Yes.
Well, like the television series, all that stuff that you eat that's like bloody library paste.
Library paste.
Right, okay. And how long are you here for?
At this gig, too long.
Right, anyway, this guy's giving me the evils. Right, so what's your name?
Dukey, well, I went to a comedy gig with you once where the guy, because you look like a musician, whatever the hell that looks like, right? And the guy said to you, hey, you must be a musician. And your response was probably the best, which was just, don't riff off of me, mate. You're not going to get anything.
Yeah,
and then he swiftly went away and started to pick on another woman.
Oh, and he was quite caustic.
And he sucked.
Yeah. I was respectful of the fact that he followed my suggestions. I remember that evening well. I was in a bit of a mood and I just wanted cheering up. I did not want to be the centerpiece of this person's crowd work.
I just think it's just so weird to me. When I don't understand things, I get scared. And I don't understand why insulting people is funny. I just don't, like in my parents' day, they came from that comedy of, take my wife, please. Kind of
Henny
comedy.
Youngman.
Yeah. And they thought that was hilarious. Or people like Don Rickles.
The late Donald Rickles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who would just...
Donald.
Who didn't he just pick on audience members and like say horrible things about them?
That was his whole thing. He ripped the piss out of everyone. I think in a way, especially with his celebrity fans, they wanted to be roasted by him. But if you're going to go and see... it is a weird one. If you're going to see Don Rickles...
Why is it funny? I guess, people might think that I'm stupid or something, but I just think I don't understand why that's funny. And, that's why I didn't go to some of the shows that you and Marsha went to, because I'm not as brave as you guys are. And I just think I'd just rather not, run the risk of somebody making fun of me. And I just think, and like you say, like in every Edinburgh show, they have to have the ushers like almost try to force you to sit in the front row. And I'm like, maybe you shouldn't try to force people to sit in the front row. Maybe the performers should just make sure not to be assholes. Which
Here,
most
here.
of them that we saw weren't, but some of them were enough assholey from like that just scared me away from things. And I just think, do you want to scare your audience members away from the front row? Surely not.
That's the one thing I remember from Ed Hedges' slot. He was asking a member of the audience something about whether or not they had kids. And this person who was, I think, probably intimidated by the compare was quite reserved. And Ed Hedges handled it so well. You know, I'm not here to pick on you. I just want to know, I'm a beta male. How could somebody like me pick on anybody?
Yes,
and then the
he's a
person
very
opened
slight
up
person,
and he
yes.
only used it as a link to be able to segue into the next topic, which he was
like
going
in
to
Carmen's
explore.
gig as well, because she was in a really small room and 2 people came in late and there were only 2 seats left and they were in the front row, and she just immediately put them more at ease by saying, don't worry, I don't pick on people. And I just think if I mean, it upsets me as an audience member, but if I was a performer up there as well, I would be really impatient and frustrated with the performers who do pick on people, because that makes their job harder, because they're sitting there looking at an empty front row, or they're having to reassure people, don't worry, I'm not going to insult you or pick on you. So I think they should all collectively get together and just I don't know, maybe it should come with a warning or something. Like, we do pick on people, so if you're a weenie like Sylvia Silversmith, don't come to this show. Maybe it should just be, that would make me feel so much better if it just came with like a little warning, like if you're a weenie, like an anti-weenie warning. That's all I need. I'm a weenie.
Weenies are not welcome.
Yeah, I don't want to be picked on. I'm a weenie. I will go home and cry.
And you may cry soon, because
Yes.
we are about to give the last Dukey Award out. This one is for most number of bugs congregating in one area outside of the Bible.
And the award goes to...
The Summit of Arthur's Seat.
The Summit of Arthur's Seat.
We climbed up Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh as a way of, let's face it, working off the many Prosecco's that we've been having.
Prosecco's.
Breakfast, lunch and dinner, and a beautiful view, a beautiful climb, and a fuck of a lot of midges.
Dukey, can I just say firstly, if people don't know what Arthur's Seat is, because I didn't know what it was, and it's kind of like a hill that wants to be a mountain. Is that a correct?
Absolutely.
And it's kind of in the middle of Edinburgh, and you climb to the top of it, and you get a good view.
Yes.
Right? And the feeling of, conquering.
Achievement. What I loved is, in addition to the midges, there were, at the very top of Arthur's Seat, many fag butts, cigarette butts.
I love that so hard, because I
Yes.
got to the top just thinking, you know, do you want to have a cigarette? Like my lungs were dying up there. And it was just like, yeah, you're going to stand up on this mountain that you've just climbed and you're going to have a cigarette. And it fulfilled my need for nature for like 5 years.
For 5 years.
Because I'm on a
you've done this-
strictly 5-year nature rotation. I don't need nature. Like, I get nervous when I'm in the city and I see a weed growing out of the sidewalk. Like, something green, it might have a bug on it. I don't like it. I like concrete and crowds, okay? So, I don't need this nature shit, but... every 5 years you think, well, I'm a human being, I should probably get some nature.
Marsha, you once told me when we were out in the country driving and we stopped off somewhere and just to take in the view of a place of some significance. And you said, nature, it just ain't natural.
Dukey, I stand by that. It's not natural, and I appreciate you guys hauling my big ass to the top of this hill wannabe mountain thing. And you're right, it was a nice view, and I'm good for another 5 years. I don't need to see anything natural. I'd like buildings. The thing that I learned a lot at this Fringe, and one of the things that I learned, because I used to have a very intrepid friend who used to do things like she made crop circles, and I'm sorry if if you think they're made by aliens, maybe they are. But this woman actually made her own crop circles. And she was intrepid. And she used to go canoeing by herself. And she went camping by herself in Scotland one year. And she came back early. And I said, why'd you come back early? And she said, because of the midges. And, I said to her, oh, okay. But in my head was going, you came back because of bugs? Okay, that didn't really fit with, she seemed like a female Bear Grylls. Like she let bugs drive her home from her holiday early. And then when we were at the top of Arthur's Seat and there were all those midges, stroke, flying ants, whatever they're called, like to the point where you're breathing in and they're going up your nostrils. I thought, I've learned that's what it would drive you home. I mean, it was the most number of bugs congregating in one place outside of the Bible. I mean, it was biblical number. I brought them home in my bag, unintentionally. And then I felt sorry for them because I thought I brought them out of their natural habitat and now they're in the kitchen in this flat.
From Scotland to England.
I feel really bad. But what are you going to do? And there was you couldn't even see for the plague of midges.
It really was biblical up there.
It was biblical, Dukey. And people run up that thing.
It's true.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. Like, how do you run? Because it's like rocks at the top. Like rocks. So you get people running, it's kind of precarious. And you get people running up and running back down. And yeah, I'm glad I did it. I don't even need to go out to the park now.
That's it.
Like, I don't even need, where we live, one of the ways of getting to the local store is to walk through the park.
Are you going to avoid that for a few years?
Or you can go around and walk down the street. It doesn't matter either way. I think, I've had my nature now, and I think just the street is good because I don't need... I'm not saying I don't like, out of a train window, whatever, you see a tree or like a rabbit or something. And I look and I think, that's cool. And I don't need to interact or engage with it in any way, shape or form. I don't need that. I need concrete and crowds of people.
Concrete and crowds forever. That was the Dukey Awards 2017.
It was a lot of awards given out. I think they're all well-deserved, Dukey. Well done to everyone. And we got old Dukey Radio Show friends and hopefully some new ones.
Indeed. Yes, watch the space.
I'm going to go make myself a burrito.
Well, that is indeed your lot. Many thanks to Sylvia and Marsha for being great partners in culture vulture crime at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and for their invaluable assistance with the Dukey Awards. To all the winners, your statues are in the post. You've been listening to the Edinburgh Fringe Dukey Awards 2017. My name is Dukey and I've been your host. Until next time, may the worst of tomorrow be the best of yesterday. Now it's time for me to go and scratch those midges out of my hair. Thanks for listening. Blimey, I almost forgot. I really need to pop my weasel as well.
Half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel.
Facebook. Click on your mouse to our Facebook page. Facebook. It's easy to find, it will not take an age. Facebook. www.facebook.com/. The Dukey Radio Show, the Dukey Radio Show. The thin white Dukey is right. Click your way to the Dukey Radio Show Facebook page, www.facebook.com/The Dukey Radio Show. The Dukey Radio Show, the Dukey Radio Show.
That's enough. Enough with the bagpipes. I love Scotland. I love everything about you people. That's enough. Enough with the fucking bagpipes.